Welcome back to the Movie Draft House. I'm your host, Mark, joined by co-host Jeff.
What up, Mark? How we doing, buddy?
Well, you know, it's doing well. I'm doing okay. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for
Very
asking.
well. Good. Man, I love it when you're doing very well.
Appreciate
I love that for you.
Thank you.
Jeff, before we get into what we watched this week, tell them what the theme is this year and run it down for us.
Yeah, we're doing an annual theme, a year theme, as opposed to our usual monthly theme, just to shake things up a bit. And what we're doing is what I call 1 degree of separation. You watch a movie, you pick something from that movie that connects to the next movie, being an actor, a director, or in this week's case, a writer. So last week's movie was some shit I can't remember right now. What was it? Top Gun Maverick, which was written by, was it David Scarpa? Was that the guy?
David Scarpa. No, Peter Craig.
It was written by Peter Craig. I knew that. Who also had a writing credit on this week's film, Gladiator II, which came out in 20...
You didn't run down the entire list.
Shit. I was hoping you would notice. All right, so, fuck. I need to write this stuff down. So, A Simple Favor stars Anna Kendrick, who was in Life After Beth, which starred Paul Reiser, who was in Whiplash, which starred Miles Teller, who was in Top Gun Maverick, which had a writing credit from Peter Craig, who also had a writing credit on this week's movie, Gladiator II. You get to run it down next week.
I will. I look forward. This is fun. See how far we can get before we mess up.
That is true. That'd be interesting to do. I was going to take notes, but now I'm going to challenge myself.
Yeah.
See if we can do that.
So I chose Gladiator II because I was looking at the Top Gun Maverick IMDb, and I was like, I could choose Tom Cruise or Glenn Powell or anybody else that was in that movie. I could have even picked what's the guy's name that directed it, but I was like, you know what? Let me look at these writers, because writers have a ton of credits to them, right?
Gives you a lot of options. It's almost like cheating.
So I looked at Peter Craig's writing credits and saw that he was a writer on Ridley Scott's Gladiator II, and it's a recent film. So I was pretty confident you had not seen it, and so yeah,
because you know me, I don't watch new shit.
Well, I mean, it's extremely new.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, did you have? All right, before we get into it, have you seen the original Gladiator?
Boy, it's been decades. I think I saw it in theaters, and that
Really?
was the last and only time I saw Gladiator.
Really?
Not because I hate it, but that we're going to get into this a little bit, is that this sort of epic, grand, sweeping movie that I would argue kind of really started with Braveheart isn't my jam, really. Like, I don't want to say I don't like them, because I kind of do, but I also don't ever feel the need to go back to them.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
So that's why, I mean, other than like Braveheart, which I've seen a number of times, but like Gladiator, Master and Commander, I'm sure there's others I'm forgetting. Troy, which we saw for the podcast. I just kind of, it's not my thing. Epic, historical, big battle.
Well,
movies.
so Ridley Scott is known for his epic films. Like, the stories may not be so epic, but the films themselves are epic. And this is no different. And this is it wasn't intentional, and I didn't really think about it last week when I picked it. But this is our second week in back-to-back weeks that we watched a sequel that came 20 some odd years,
ages,
after the original. So
I think Top Gun was a little even longer, because Top Gun was in the 90s.
No, Top Gun
It,
was in the 80s.
was it the 80s?
Yeah, I thought we said last week it was like 85.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long break compared to this.
Yeah. I mean, the original Gladiator was what, 2000?
That's what I want to say, but I don't know for certain, but I can
90
find out.
I think it was either 99 or 2000.
2000. Yep.
Yeah. So, first, let me ask you this. Are you familiar with Paul Mescal?
No, I'm really
Okay.
not. I'm trying to see if his filmography, there's anything I've seen of his, but it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, he's relatively new to Hollywood.
So I'd say this is my first Paul Mescal film.
Yeah, he's relatively new. He was getting awards buzz last year or year before last, whatever it was, for the film After Sun. And it's an indie film that showcased his acting, and he's a good actor. I like him. And I thought here he was really good in the role, and partly because he's so much more charismatic than what's his face, Russell Crowe, was in the original.
Yeah, I've never been a big Russell Crowe fan. There are exceptions. I really like the movie he did with the baby goose, Ryan Gosling. The Good Guys or something like that.
Yeah.
That was a good movie. But I just not. I don't know. There's something about him. I think that he's might also be an unlikable person in real life, and maybe that's reading to me. Compare that with my man Pedro Pascal, who I love seeing on screen at any point in time. It filled me with joy when he popped up.
Well, this film is full of charismatic actors. From Paul Mescal to Denzel Washington to Pedro Pascal to Joseph Quinn. I mean, most everybody in this film that plays a large role is a charismatic actor, and Ridley Scott and the writers here do a really good job of letting them be charismatic on screen. Now, Denzel Washington's he's going to get nominated for Best Supporting Actor for this role, Academy Award. He's probably not going to win, but he's going to get nominated. But like, well, I mean, so an aside, he's going to get nominated, but Kieran Culkin, Macaulay Culkin's brother, is going to get nominated and probably win for his film, A Real Pain, and it's directed by Jesse Eisenberg. I just watched it last night.
Directed by Jesse Eisenberg.
It directed and stars Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin, and Kieran Culkin has been sweeping the award circuit so far this year. It's on Hulu if you want to watch it.
Interesting.
But,
I like Kieran Culkin, so I'll take a look at that. So.
Yeah, he's really good. But anyways, so Denzel Washington here is playing Denzel Washington, in my opinion, and he's very charismatic. Like Denzel Washington's one of the best actors.
I kind of disagree a little bit.
Really?
Like I don't feel like he's hitting Denzel Washington as hard as he does in other movies. To me, like I felt like he was a little more subdued than he can be in other things. I don't know. I really liked him in this.
No, I mean I did too. He is on screen a ton, and he is the puppeteer in this film as far as the plot goes. And so then by I guess by nature of the role, he gets to be charismatic. He's a politician and he plays both sides, and he's pulling strings behind the scenes, and so I did enjoy him in this film. But I just thought we're getting Denzel. And you're right. He's not as I guess brash or like as Denzel as like maybe a Training Day or
Yeah, I don't ever feel like he has those preachy moments where he kind of talks very firmly and he da. And this, a
yeah,
lot of those moments are actually more subdued. Like he's kind of
yeah,
whispering in ears. He's like, this movie shares a lot of DNA with like Game of Thrones to me,
sure,
but where he's like whispering in ears, he's sort of the evil guy on the shoulder as opposed to that loud, sort of assertive, and he's certainly assertive, but I think it's a different character where he is playing a game in a more subtle way until he doesn't need to anymore.
right. It's he is and like honestly, this movie's probably not as good as I think it is without Denzel in this role, and so there is something to be said for Denzel playing Denzel in this role, is because he's very good at it, and it makes the film better. But I also really enjoyed Paul Mescal as the hero and as
me too.
The son of Russell Crowe's character from the original. And spoiler alert. But I mean that
Is it
you see that
like,
coming.
I mean-
No, right? I mean you see that coming from.
I was interested going in to see how much of Gladiator 1 was in this, because I hadn't, like I said, I hadn't seen it since it was like brand new, and so I didn't know how much I was going to miss out on. But the movie does a good job of giving you the bits you need.
Sure, like we talked about last week with Top Gun.
Yeah, exactly.
It fills in gaps of story with select scenes from the original that just allow you to kind of seamlessly pick up, okay, hey, all right, now I know what's going on, I know who this is and whatnot. So you don't have to see the original for this one, just like you didn't have to see the original Top Gun to enjoy Maverick.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, you texted me and said, why do you pick long movies?
You do pick long movies. This shit's
Right.
2.5 hours. Which
So
I guess I should have known.
Did it feel
It's-
2.5 hours?
No, I wouldn't say so. I think
Okay.
it felt pretty good. Like I was
Yeah.
entertained throughout. I think that's another reason I do kind of avoid this type of film, is because I don't really want to dedicate this much time to a movie.
Right.
And yet I felt that the time was well spent. Really great action sequences. I love how violent the movie is. Like it doesn't pull punches.
But it's not overly gory either, right?
Wasn't there one guy who, I don't know.
Yeah, Joseph Quinn
Decapitation
gets
was
his
pretty
head.
good. There's a lot
Yeah.
of squirting of blood. It's CG blood, which I think I'm starting to get more used to,
Yeah.
because you can kind of be more crazy with it, and so I guess that's a fun thing.
Yeah.
But I just like that it didn't hold back. Limbs would be lost throughout the course of the film, and I appreciated that. So, like I said, I felt that the presentation was really, really good. I think that the cast is excellent. I really love the douchebag Emperor twins. I think they were so good.
Yeah.
Like they just oozed punchable face. Like I wanted to choke them both out.
Well, I mean, you're familiar with Joseph Quinn, right?
No, well, at least not
He's-
immediately.
I mean, he's stars in Stranger Things and
He's going to be Human Torch.
yes, and
Okay.
and then Fred Heckinger, who plays the other twin. I just saw a movie that he was in called Thelma. It's on Disney Plus and Hulu if you want to watch that one, with June Squibb, and he plays her grandson in the movie, and he's very good. Very different here, but
He is
'cause
he is the most punchable here.
Yeah.
Like this kid is the worst. Like, and
Well-
that's what's so great. I feel like and again, it's been a long time since I saw Joaquin Phoenix's performance, but man, these guys I hate them so much.
Well,
it's really good.
And so in the original, Joaquin Phoenix was the bad guy.
Right.
Here these dudes are evil, but they're not the main bad guys. They're just kind of like your, distractionary
they
bad
are,
guys.
though. You're not really sure. You don't
Right.
kind of find out that Denzel's the true bad guy until much later in the film.
Right.
When
But-
he starts playing, you start to see what his end game is.
So I did read that this Roman storyline is kind of based on actual historical events.
Interesting.
And there were brother emperors. I don't know if they were twins, but there were brother emperors at one point in time, and one of them did name a monkey as like the
I love that.
a spot in their council or what, I don't know.
I liked too when Denzel had to be the first one to be like, "Hey, whatever the monkey's name was, hail,
Yeah.
blah blah blah."
Dondus.
And everybody was like, "Okay, I guess we're doing this."
So speaking of monkey, we got to talk about the CG of the baboons or whatever in one of the first Colosseum fights. Not good CG there.
I didn't mind it. I thought that it was more an issue with the physical way that the monkeys were drawn. Like something was off about them. There was an uncanny validness to it. I felt like the overall lighting and everything felt like the creatures were there. It wasn't the worst. But I do feel like there was something off about the shape of them.
Well, and it's almost because, we're talking about like 600 AD or whatever the year was. It seems like these are monkeys from days past. And I say monkeys, but they're probably apes. But
yeah, they don't have tails. They would be apes.
the
As far as my knowledge goes, though.
but like this iteration of ape probably doesn't exist today because of evolution and whatnot. But I like because you're right. They were very monster-esque looking, and I just it was to me it was jarring from the physical appearance of them to, like you said, the physicalness of the scene where Paul Mescal's on the ground, he's holding one and he's like fighting it, with the ape on him, and it just seemed just kind of far-fetched, I guess.
Yeah.
Now the scene with the rhino, I thought was very good. The guy riding the rhino, and I thought that's far more believable in my opinion, and probably actually happened at some point for the Colosseum, and because I feel like if you release a bunch of apes into the Colosseum, they're just going to go climb walls and get out.
They would kill everyone, right?
Right.
So at first, though, it seems like they're not super like crazy killers, and then they get shot with these darts, which I guess has some sort of effect on them that makes them go sort of visceral. But yeah, it's the same thing as like, and in the scene when they're on the boats and they all have bows, it seems like, wouldn't that be a mistake to have a long range weapon when your emperors and shit are right there? And it turns out it is a bad idea, but
right.
It seems like that would have come up before, but these are young, dumb emperors, I guess. And there was probably like, I want bows.
Well, and so you're talking about the scene with the boats and they flood the Colosseum. And so that's an interesting idea. And I looked that up and that didn't actually happen as far as human knowledge goes.
Okay.
Is because the irrigation systems were not good.
Right. And I'm like,
in
where did they
ancient Rome.
pump all that water in from? Right.
But I mean, it's an interesting idea. I mean, it's, I mean, you talked about
still cool. Like,
yeah. No, what, yeah. It's something that, like you think of in your brain, like, oh, what if we flooded this Colosseum and put sharks, and then made them fight on boats? I mean, that's a cool movie idea. And you think about it, you're like, well, I actually don't know what happened in ancient Rome, so it could have happened, even though people have already said the irrigation
It hasn't happened.
was terrible. I mean, you got people shitting on sidewalks in the Colosseum. Wait, how are you going to get rid of this water? It's just. I mean, we're talking about ancient Rome.
Yeah.
This isn't some futuristic society. I mean, they were 100% were wearing no underwear underneath their togas. So like,
hey, that's the way to go.
Free balling.
Yes.
Anyways, all right. So, does this make you want to go back and watch the original or no?
No.
Okay.
At no point did I be like, oh, I should go back and watch, because I'd see the handful of scenes and was like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
And I don't care. Like, and it's begin, and that one is, I don't know how long, but probably over 2 hours. And
yeah, for sure.
No desire to go back and watch the original Gladiator. I felt like this, to my memory, was a little even more entertaining. Like,
yes, I agree. Gladiator is 2 hours and 35 minutes.
Yeah, it's same length basically, but
it's. I mean, I very much, because I didn't watch the original right before this movie. I had watched the original at some point last fall, and for the first time in a long time. And I was watching it, and I'm like, Russell Crowe he's a badass in the movie, and that's on purpose. Like, he's not some menacing dude. Like, Russell Crowe was very svelte, and he's not Russell Crowe. He wasn't Russell Crowe of today in that movie,
right?
But like, he's very brooding in Gladiator, and Paul Mescal is very entertaining. And like, he gives several speeches to people, and like, he's just got this this way of delivering lines in this film that I'm like, man, cast him in more things. I want to see him in more things, because if he can be charismatic here in this big budget epic film, I want to see him in everything else. And so I just thought, like, the original, while good, and I think it won Best Picture at the Oscars, it's not as entertaining as this.
Yeah.
And now this story is probably not as good as the original Gladiator story.
I don't know, man, because you get like because the other one is just from memory. Russell Crowe, Joaquin Phoenix, kind of on opposite ends. This one has a lot more moving pieces with his genealogy, his mom, Pedro Pascal's in the middle of it, and then of course Denzel, and then the twins, and so there's a lot more moving pieces. So I feel like there's a lot more complexity to what's happening here.
Yeah. All right. So what'd you think of Pedro Pascal?
Oh, 10 out of 10 every time. I love him, and it might just be me having some sort of man crush or something, but I love Pedro Pascal. He's just so likable. Even when he's playing,
so like, all right, so from the first scene, he leads the Roman army into Paul Mescal's wherever they were, country, whatever.
Yeah.
And you can see that he is not enjoying leading people to kill and take over.
But you're also not sure where he stands too.
Right.
Yeah.
But like, he when he burns the bodies after they've taken the town or wherever, he's just kind of got that look, and it's like, I'm over this. I don't want to do this anymore.
This for Rome.
Right.
Yay.
And then when he comes back and they throw him a celebration parade, and he goes and meets with the emperors, he's, he tells them, he goes, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And
can
so
I have a break? And they're like, fuck, nah, bro, we need you to attack India next.
Right. so I enjoyed it, and then we learned that he's married to what's his face, Paul Mescal's mom.
Now, was she in the original film?
Yeah, she was the daughter of Maximus, the emperor of Rome, and she's the queen here now. She was,
and there was a romance between her and
Joaquin.
Not Joaquin. Well, I mean, but it's implied that she also hooked up with Russell Crowe.
Yeah,
yeah. Implied, stated.
No,
yeah.
It's stated. Yeah. And she had this child who is Paul Mescal with Russell Crowe, and I she's kind of meh here. She's not essential. I mean, she is essential to the plot in this movie because her and Paul Mescal meet, and she tells him, "I know you're my son," and this, and so there is a point to her, but I just felt like she's probably the only one here going through the motions. But I very much enjoyed Pedro Pascal. I wish we had gotten more of Pedro Pascal, actually.
Mm-hmm.
His
I knew
fight
he wasn't making it out of the arena.
Well, his fight with Paul Mescal was very good. And he got the better of Paul Mescal and at one point, and then then Paul Mescal gets the better of him and decides to spare his life, and then I just thought it was very good. There's a lot of good decisions here, and with the writing and directing. Ridley Scott's he's made a long career out of making very good films of these epic ancient stories, and so again, I very much enjoyed this one more than I did the original, much like last week with Top Gun. So,
well, and you like newer movies as opposed to older ones.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the original Top Gun and the original Gladiator are fine. I can still watch them. They're not bad. They're not like, I would not classify them as dated or like, you watch an old movie today and it's shot in some terrible aspect ratio and it's got shitty picture quality, and it's just like, oh. But like that, you don't get that with Gladiator or Top Gun.
I guess.
Anyway, Jeff, do you recommend Gladiator II?
Yeah, I think I would. For this type of movie, I would recommend it. But I don't know that I'd ever watch it again because it's, again, not my genre. But if it's your deal, it seems like a good one to me.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Highly entertaining, very watchable. Great acting throughout, great characters, great action. I mean, it's a what I would classify as like kind of a summer blockbuster, but it came out in like the end of the year, and so there's a lot worse that you could watch. But
yes,
if
there is a lot worse.
Again, it's not. This is not as good as Top Gun Maverick to me, but I'm still going to recommend it, is because it is very good. It's across the board, excellent directing, writing, acting, set, scene design, and costumes, and all that. It's all very good. I did think that Denzel went out like a little bitch.
Yeah,
at the end,
like there's some guys that get like full decapitated, and it's
yeah.
cool.
He got his arm chopped off, and it's like,
yeah, I agree. Like it could have been more, like cut him full in half. I'd have been here for that.
I thought it was entertaining when he's parading Joseph Quinn's head around the council room.
That was good. Yeah.
And, and he's holding it, and you can see that, like, at the beginning of the scene, he's trying not to touch the bottom neck of the head. Because, like, there's a point where he gets close and he, like, moves his hand. I don't actually know if that was intentional or not, or, like, Denzel, like, the prop head that he was using kind of being gross. But, like, but then he uses the head and he props his hand underneath the neck part of the head. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah.
and the head really didn't look like Joseph Quinn, which I also thought was weird. But
it's hard to do.
it's hard.
I don't know. It didn't bother me. It was funny.
It was fun. I
way
enjoyed
he
it.
would pan it around the room to look at people.
Yeah.
Thought it was
all right, Jeff. What are we watching next week?
Man, so I had my movie picked out long ago, and I'm not going to pick this, but I want to tell you about the other one, which is Pedro Pascal is in this movie called Drive Away Dolls.
Okay.
And his character's name is Penis Collector. I want to know what's happening here.
Wait, so this is not the movie you're picking?
This is not the movie I'm picking. I'm tempted, though.
Drive Away Dolls.
Yeah, it's got Margaret Qualley. I mean, it's got a cast. Beanie Feldstein,
pick
Pedro
that one
Pascal.
then. Just pick it.
Huh?
Pick that one.
Okay, let me pitch my other one. Let me.
Okay.
This is the one that I had pretty much ready to go, which is directed by Ridley Scott. Stars Sam Rockwell and Nicolas Cage in Matchstick Men, a movie I haven't seen in ages and was wanting to watch again.
You sold me on Driveway Dolls when you told me
Pedro Pascal's
name.
Collector.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. We're going to watch Driveway Dolls, starring Pedro Pascal as Penis Collector. It looks to be on Prime Video.
Penis.
And it also has a nice big cast. And, you chose to go with a writer for some reason, I guess. But, here I am presenting you with a nice, big, juicy cast. Let's see if you do
All right,
something.
I've already got my movie. Based off your cast.
That was easy.
Yeah. And I was actually trying to figure out how we would get to it.
Is this the one you were talking about earlier where you're like, I want to get to this movie, and I've now done it?
100%. And I didn't even realize. No, I'm not going to tell you yet. But this movie you picked is directed by Ethan Coen.
So it's the Coen brother film that you're wanting to watch next?
No, it's not a Coen brother, but Ethan Coen wrote and directed this film.
Yes. Well, I'm just
and
saying
it's only an hour
movie.
And 24 minutes long.
Look at that. What a guy I am.
What a guy. This might be our shortest movie in our podcast.
I feel like we've done a shorter one.
I feel
like
man.
One of the early old ass movies I made us pick was like an hour 14, but yeah, hour and a half. And it looks fucking wild. So Drive Away Dolls.
Okay,
and
well,
we
good.
get to solve the mystery about what is a penis collector and why do you cast Pedro Pascal to do that.
I mean, you cast Pedro Pascal as anything.
It's true,
but I do think it adds a little flavor when you name his character Penis Collector.
They didn't even give him a name, just an occupation.
Matt Damon's also in this movie.
Yes, giving you lots of room. And just to reiterate again, we are not going back the same degree twice. So
correct.
Since I've done Pedro Pascal, we can't use Pedro Pascal to link movies. However, he could still show up again if he just happens to be in a movie. Sure. I hope that makes sense. It probably doesn't.
No, it does.
Thank you.
But what also makes sense is you hitting the subscribe button when it pops up if you're watching on YouTube.
I know what movie you're picking next. I'm not going to say because I don't want to confirm it, but I know exactly what it is. It just dawned on me.
We'll see. We'll see if you're correct. But
I'll guess it next week before you pitch it.
Okay. Hit the subscribe button when it pops up so you don't miss any future content right here on the podcast. And if you want to follow the podcast on all your favorite social media platforms, we're on Twitter, TikTok. Ooh, I don't know about TikTok anymore.
Yeah, we don't know about that anymore.
Instagram, right here on YouTube. So give us a like, follow, and subscribe, and maybe we'll migrate over to some new platform from TikTok to something else. Who knows?
Well, there's a new Chinese one, so it's like everyone went from one Chinese one to another one.
Right.
So it's like
maybe we'll be on Blue Sky. Maybe we'll be on Blue Sky. So Jeff, tell them where they can find you.
I'm on Blue Sky. You can find me on Blue Sky at Jay Queasy, but you can also check out my other podcasts. I have one called Chronologically, where we're currently, or about to anyway, go through the library of Quentin Tarantino. That's about to get started here in February. Also, you can check out my other podcast called All Things Being Sequel. We're looking at the Leprechaun films. And let me tell you, the Leprechaun series, it
Pretty
gets
good.
better.
I
wouldn't call it pretty good, but it gets better than like,
Leprechaun in the Hood, baby.
If you look back and listen to our Leprechaun episode on this feed, not very high on it, but Leprechaun actually gets there. It gets where it's going.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if I've seen all of the Leprechaun films.
I don't want to spoil it
because there's
really
like 12 of them, right?
No, there's 6, 8, I think.
I mean, close enough.
Yeah. I don't know what you determine as being close, but
well, I mean, 8's pretty close to 12. Anyways, join us next week when we watch Drive Away Dolls. And
Yes.
and we learn why somebody would name somebody Penis Collector.
Penis Collector. I know that if I could go back when my son was born, I would name him exactly what I named him today because I don't want my wife to kill me. Anyway.
Jeff, any last words?
No, we'll see you next week.